The majority of Saints fans aren't really giving Derek Carr a fair chance, according to Scott Shanle, former Saints linebacker, has come out in defense of Derek Carr. This is on WWL Radio. It's an interview with Scott. We're going to hear what he has to say about this. We're going to react like only we can do. Take it away, Scott.
Scott, and obviously the quarterback gets too much of the blame or too much of the glory. It just comes because who's your quarterback? Everyone looks at the influence, especially look at a contract Jared Goff just got. With the Detroit Lions and what he got guaranteed. But
200
when I look
plus
at,
million.
Don't you think fans are right now like kind of 50-50 on Derek Carr?
I don't know about 50-50. I know he's very polarizing. And here's where I come down on the Carr thing. It's not that he's getting a lot of blame or getting a lot of praise. It's almost like fans don't want him to win. Like his polarity has superseded, we're getting big words early morning here, but it's almost like his polarity has superseded people rooting for the team. Like, that's where I come down on this Carr thing, where I don't care one way or the other if Carr is a top 8 quarterback or a top 12 quarterback or a top 20 quarterback. What I care about is that the Saints win. What I care about is that we win games, we go over our season win total, we have progress moving forward. A lot of the comments that I read, a lot of the Reddit posts that I read, it's more like they're rooting so hard for Carr to fail that they want the Saints to fail, or they won't allow themselves to think the Saints are taking any positive steps, because that would mean that Carr is correlated to taking positive steps. It really is kind of shocking. I haven't seen a player like this in a long, long time. And as far as the contract, now that we've seen Cousins' contract, Baker Mayfield's contract, Jared Goff's contract, Derek Carr is not getting paid that much money. As far as a free agent, veteran quarterback, you look at Carr's contract, which was a team-friendly $150 million deal, we'll call it, even though that's not really the case. Compare that to Baker Mayfield, who gets 3 years, $100 million. Compare that to Kirk Cousins, who's coming off of an Achilles injury, getting $150 million guaranteed. It doesn't look that bad. So it's not like he's a $300 million man. It's not like he's a former first overall pick that, has kind of waffled in the organization. He's just a mediocre / average / above average at times veteran quarterback. So it is weird that there is such a hyper focus on him individually at this point in the kind of his Saints career.
And I think that's why he cannot afford that he has to get off to a fast start. And what I mean by that, okay, this is winning football, what he did to end the season. And if you look at this, the Saints close out the season 4-2. Okay, I'm looking at their schedule. I think the Saints will close out the season very similar this year. Just looking at, I'm thinking like, okay, if you worth your salt, Giants, Commanders, Raiders, you got to beat those.
Yeah, you should beat those teams. It's funny about last year, I just had this conversation in the comment section. A lot of people say, we'll throw out the end of last season because it was poor competition. Well, 3 of the 4 wins were against our divisional opponents. So we're playing them again this year, twice. So, yes, those are low level of competition, but that level of competition makes up the bulk of your schedule. Like, that makes up 6 games out of your schedule. So a third of your schedule is against that competition. So it's very important that you win those games. The Saints are on a razor's edge. They don't have to win 13 games. They don't have to win 14 games. They don't have to win 12 games. All they got to do is take care of business against the division, split against Tampa, split against Atlanta, sweep Carolina. Right there, you're 4-2. The teams that Bobby just mentioned, the Giants, the Commanders, the Raiders, the Broncos, you take care of them, boom, that's 8 wins. Then there's a bunch of coin flip games in there, the Rams, the Browns. We've gone over this a million times. You pick up one of those, 2 of those, you could be looking at a 9-10 win season. So, it's all kind of right there for them. But I keep, and Dennis Allen's kind of like this too. And trust me, I think Dennis Allen is, an absolute clown as a head coach. But a lot of people say like, well, none of this matters. Like, I'll do a video and they'll say none of this matters because you have Carbage as your quarterback and Dennis Allen as your head coach. And it's like, well, if that's the case, just turn the TV off and rewatch Breaking Bad or something. Go watch Mad Men. When the NFL season starts, just start cranking up The Walking Dead or watch Grey's Anatomy. Because if that's your outlook on it, then you've allowed your hatred of two people, in this case, Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, to take precedence over the team. Like, I don't care. I've said it over and over. I don't care about who they are as humans. I don't care about their personality. I don't care about their outfits. I don't care about what they wear. I don't care about what they live. I don't care about what they do on Mardi Gras. I don't care about any of that stuff. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they eat crawfish with a fork and knife. All right? Could care less. All I care about is if they win and our chances to win. All I care about is watching this team in the Dome on Sundays, having a good time, and getting victories. That's it.
Kind of teams. But I'm looking at the Saints close the season 4-2.
I care about
and Derek Carr was playing his best football. Now, you got to transfer that now to September, the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Do you know he completed 74.5, not 71, 72, 74.5% of his passes in that stretch in 6 games? That was number 1 in the NFL. Okay?
Yep.
And if you look at it, he had 15 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Pretty good.
Well, hell yeah. If he does that, that's going to give us a chance.
Yeah,
even though you play in the likes of at the 49ers. And well, I'm saying at the 49ers. No, that's the preseason game. When you're playing like the Eagles at home or at Kansas City. Or just go throughout, like the Panthers. Yeah, he didn't have to have an unbelievable game. But even at Dallas, the Eagles at home, then you got the Falcons or whatever, that's and the Chiefs. So just looking, I think the
schedule is kicking Bobby's ass. I mean, somebody get this man a schedule. Lord, get him one of those magnets to put on the fridge.
This is the season, and you look at Derek Carr and where you at as a quarterback in your career, that how you finished the season, the last 6 games, man, that's amongst the best in the whole league. Well, that's what we need come this September from Derek Carr.
Yeah, there's no question. And you said some of the fan base is 50-50. I don't even know if it's that high, and I think it should be. It should be more because I was just going to rattle off the stats you did. Derek really finished the season great. Now, my thing with Derek is I was excited about the acquisition. I thought he was kind of the missing piece of the puzzle. I thought we'd win the AFC South.
Yeah.
He was banged up, didn't play well. I was a little down on some of the leadership things, maybe some of the things he said after the games, as far as taking the responsibility and not. And then he finished the season extremely strong and looked really good and looked like the Derek Carr that everybody kind of thought we were getting. Now, the only thing I ask of the fans is, if you're going to criticize, you got to give him credit. And I don't
think they're even criticizing, TBH. I think they're rooting against him. Like, I think a lot of the fan base is rooting against Derek Carr. And Derek Carr can do whatever he wants. He can have a 35 touchdown, 5 interception season. And the fans, I'm still going to see garbage comments. Like, I'm still going to see that. And last year was an interesting season for the Saints because when Carr came in, I mean, y'all know I predicted the team to win 12 games. I thought we were going to be an 11, 12 win team because of our schedule and all that. When Carr was brought in, a lot of us thought this team is ready to compete. Like, they're ready. I don't want to say all in, but they're ready to compete for the NFC. We learned very quickly that was not the case because of our offensive line and because of Pete Carmichael and the offensive play callers. So we got Carr coming in, but then it was a quick revelation that the actual structure of the team was not good enough for this team to win. So that's where we're at now. Carr is for as much energy as people put into Derek Carr, he's a bridge quarterback. He's a bridge from an era to an era. He's a bridge from the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, which then fizzled into Jameis Winston, Ian Book, Trevor Siemian, Andy Dalton. We all know the players. Fizzled into that, fizzled with Pete Carmichael. Carr is the shift, the bridge into Clint Kubiak, this new philosophy, the new era of the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr won't be here that long. Even if he plays if Derek Carr plays at an MVP level, he'll be here for 3 years. So, you only let's say he does falter. Let's say he does have an average to mediocre season. The Saints have an average to mediocre season. Then we're just going to move some pieces around and continue along this new era that we're on. Then we're just going to move some pieces around, see what we can do here, try and get Rattler ready, prepare for the future. Which is why I don't get so caught up in the results. I've seen people say if you aren't competing for a Super Bowl, it's a waste of time. Well, brother, I got bad news for you. 31 teams every year then are wasting their time because only one team can win the Super Bowl. You have to have incremental increases and getting better in all kind of different facets. There's so many variables to a season. There's so much stuff to watch. You can watch what's our play calling? What's our philosophy there? Are we changing things? Are we evolving? Are we innovating? Okay, are we getting the offensive line better? Okay, how are we drafting? What's our young players doing? What's our defense doing? What's our philosophy there? Are we rushing the passer well? Are we locked down on the corners? Like, there's so much to look at. You look at a team like the Dolphins, right? Like, the Dolphins didn't really have much to show for last season. They started off hot, kind of faltered towards the end. They were really never a threat to win the AFC at the end of the season. They were exciting. I don't think anyone would say, like, the Dolphins are wasting their time. Because you're looking at a young coach with an innovative offense, a young quarterback, like all this stuff to look at, like these micro things to look at within a season. You can't just open the box score, look at win-loss, and then shut it and move on with your day. There's more to the NFL.
Like, people gave him enough credit at the end of the year for the way he played because there was tons of criticism. I still listen to it now. We draft a guy in the 5th round, and everybody wants him to be the starter. I'm like, listen, there's a reason.
You've heard it.
Yes. I mean, it is so strong that I'm like, okay, maybe if Spencer Rattler becomes the starting quarterback for the Saints someday, heck yeah, that's a dynamite pick. It's not going to happen year one. People need to pump their brakes a little bit because Derek Carr is a really good quarterback. Spencer Rattler's got a long ways to go in terms of becoming a starter in the NFL. But can he do it? I don't know. Time will tell, but I think fans need to realize we have one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Is he Drew Brees?
See, this part right here, I'll let him finish. Hold on.
No, not many guys are going to be Drew Brees. But he is a good enough quarterback to win the NFC South, get in the playoffs. And
that's true.
With this defense, heck, DeMario, Father Time keeps trying to knock at DeMario's door. He doesn't let it happen. He keeps.
DeMario's undefeated against Father Time. Father Time down bad.
He's playing this way, and you look at all the defensive backs we have. If we can get the things right in the offensive line and defensive line and control line of scrimmage, this team can win the NFC South.
I agree with that. The part that I would push back on, this is where I think I'm on a bit of an island, is where Shanle, he takes it the other way. So then he says, look, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You know, Derek Carr is an amazing quarterback, all that stuff. I'm not even saying that. I don't think Derek Carr is one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. Again, I had him at 17 on the 3rd tier on my quarterback power ranking if you want to go see it. All right? People swing way too far the other way, and they say, well, actually, Carr can be just as good as Patrick Mahomes if given the right protection. It's like, well, that's not true either, okay? It's okay to say Derek Carr is an average to above average quarterback for most of the time. Sure, sometimes he'll have moments of greatness. Everyone does, right? Joe Flacco was Joe Montana when they won the Super Bowl, but on average, Joe Flacco was average to above average. Nick Foles, he was Joe Montana in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady, right? But on average, he is average to above average. You can even look at someone like Carson Wentz at the beginning of his career. Carson Wentz was on pace to win the MVP before he got hurt, right? So you can have these spikes. How many times have I said it, ladies and gentlemen? We paid Carr for the foundation, for the base to be average. For a good bit of the time, for him to show flashes of above average, and then for some times, for him to show flashes of being great. That's where we want Carr to be. Quarterbacks have ranges, quarterbacks have tiers. So it doesn't need to be like you either have a horrible quarterback or a great quarterback, and you don't need one. Like, that's the thing. You don't need that. Just like Brock Purdy. Like, Brock Purdy put up crazy numbers last year, sure. But what does San Francisco want Brock Purdy to be? They want him to be baseline average, above average most of the time, and then great some of the times. That's it. That's all they want from him. Very different than the Chiefs want for Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs want Patrick Mahomes to be great all the time, elite most of the time, and then otherworldly some of the times. And that's how they win the Super Bowl. So there just really needs to be like a restructuring of how fans are looking at this team and how fans are looking at Carr. It is one of the most, like, it almost feels like you're talking politics when you're talking about Derek Carr. That's how much people are fervent into their ideology of whether he is bad or whether he is good. I mean, he is planted IMO. That's in my opinion. He is planted y'all hear the sirens? I'm filming this early as hell in the morning. There shouldn't even be people awake right now. and I got sirens blaring. But like Carr is right in the middle. So think about other quarterbacks that are right in the middle, like Geno Smith. Let's say Geno Smith. I can't imagine people in the comment sections being like, Geno Smith shouldn't even be a backup quarterback in the league. It's like, Jesus, what the hell happened? Like, what? Like, he should obviously be a starter. Just like I can't imagine people saying, Geno Smith's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL if he gets the protection. Yeah, I don't know any other quarterback who's this polarizing.
Well, and Scott, again, people expect you to play hurt, especially in football. Basketball, I don't know. I mean, you might play, you might not, whatever. But in football,
you're almost damned if you do, damned if you don't, though.
But no,
right.
because if you look what happened, and that was significant when you look at the game. That's why all the games matter. When you're playing, 16, 17 games, they all count. Because when you look at tiebreakers, for instance, when we're going to play Dallas in week 2, you know why that head-to-head's important? I don't think Dallas is going to win the NFC East this year. But they...
Yeah, I have Philly winning the NFC East.
The wild card. What are you going to do with the tiebreaker?
We're not getting a wild card. I mean, the NFC South isn't strong enough to get a wild card. You have to win the division to make the playoffs in the NFC.
Head-to-head, like what happened with Green Bay last year. Remember towards the latter part?
That's the problem. The North is too strong. Like, if the Lions win the division, you're going to have like the Bears and the Packers fighting for a wild card. You go to the East. If the Eagles win, you're going to Dallas fighting for a wild card. Like, those teams are too strong for the second place team in the NFC South to compete for a wild card. I think the NFC South will be decided by whoever wins 10 games. I think it'll be Tampa, Atlanta, and New Orleans all fighting right there. 10 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins. So I wouldn't look at a wild card. You got to win the division.
And we're winning 17-3 with 12 minutes left, and we lost that game. Then look, Jordan Love, how he got better. But the reason why I bring that up, part of the turnaround with Derek Carr was because in the back end of the season, his health improved.
Amen.
There was a lot of other stuff too. Like, our offensive philosophy changed, our red zone offense changed. If y'all remember, like we did not score on an opening possession until I think the last week of the season, right? Or second to last week, the penultimate. And then you couple that with how bad we were in the red zone to start the season. Like, there was a lot of, and that's why, like, again, guys, like, we're in 2024. You have to factor in offensive play calling. You have to factor in coordinators. Like, I was having this conversation yesterday where I make a big deal about Clint Kubiak. I make a big deal about his offensive philosophy. And people are like, well, how much of a change can that really be? I've used this stat a million times. Pete Carmichael did not once, 0, did not call a single play with 2 running backs on the field at the same time. Clint Kubiak does it 35% of the time. That is a huge philosophical shift. The red zone, what we were doing at the beginning of the year in the red zone to what we were doing at the end, completely different. That stuff matters. Play calling matters. Philosophy matters. Coordinators matter. Game management matters. Game theory matters. For all my poker players, GTO matters. All right? So it isn't just line up the big boys and see who gets the push on the offensive line. And that's how you win football games. There's so much more. And we got to start looking at the more. The offensive, like the philosophy and all that stuff, that is such a bigger talking point to me than will Derek Carr stay healthy versus he wasn't healthy last year.
He had an AC joint sprain that he suffered in week 3 against the Packers. So now you playing hurt? If you don't play hurt, then you're not tough. And because when you go out there, whether you're 100% or not, you're going to be judged on your play. Not he's playing hurt. No. Did you win or lose, or what did you do? And so you're kind of behind the 8 ball. But you know why I acknowledge, and players, there's nothing wrong with playing hurt. Come on, man. They guarantee you $150 million. Man, you almost have to have your leg cut off there to not go.
I have no idea why we're talking about the injuries. I mean, injuries are random. It's hard to. It happens. People play hurt. Is anyone truly healthy? I mean, I'm not truly healthy. Like, my hip. I mean, everyone knows my horrific hip injury from a few years ago. Shredded my hip and my lower abdomen. I could barely walk. I was still doing videos. Was I doing videos at 100%? Absolutely not. That to me, pretty comparable to playing quarterback in the NFL.
Go out there or something.
And again, I think we're all spoiled by, we watch Drew Brees. How many times was he injured and he had things wrapped up, but he still went out and threw for 300 yards? Everybody just thought, well, that's normal. You can be hurt and still play. Drew did it. Well, again, we got to stop comparing everybody to one of the greatest to ever do it. But to your point, Derek didn't play well in some of those games, but I've had an AC joint. Those things are not fun, and I wasn't throwing a football. So he went out there and he tried to do the right thing. He said, you're paying me all this money. I have to be the face of the team. I want to be a leader. I want to be out there in the huddle with my guys. And what you'd like to see in that situation is the rest of the team rally around that guy and say, man, we respect this guy's toughness. And I think that's what Derek was trying to do. And I have a lot of respect for guys that try to do that. And you just have to know as a player, am I helping the team or hurting the team? But I still think even though he was hurt, he was probably still the best option to be out there.
I mean, he was horrific in the game against Tampa when he came back after Green Bay. It is what it is. It's all happened. So we can't focus on that. We got to focus on moving forward. Got to focus on that was the Tampa game, the game after Green Bay when he was hurt and he played. Like, that was just a bad performance overall. Baker Mayfield shredded the defense. Offensively, we were anemic, terrible. So, yeah, it's bad all around. But, I agree with Scott to an extent, but I'm more in the camp of, like, I'm not telling y'all to, like, root for Derek Carr. I'm not telling y'all to love Derek Carr. I'm not telling y'all to buy Derek Carr jerseys. I'm telling y'all that we got to shift the energy somewhere else. Like, there's way more players on this team than Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the quarterback, sure. But let's shift some focus to Alvin Kamara. Let's shift some focus to Chris Olave. Let's shift some focus to Talise Fuaga, our offensive coaching staff. Like, there's a lot more to our team. I don't want the team to be so siloed that the only talking point about the Saints is Derek Carr. There is way more that goes into that team. If you look at San Francisco, again, if San Francisco 49er fans were sitting there debating Brock Purdy, is he elite, is he not elite, is he this, is he that, I'm sure some of the fans would say, guys, we have Christian McCaffrey, we have Deebo Samuel, we have Brandon Ayuk, we have George Kittle. We have all these defensive players. We have Fred Warner. Like, we have Kyle Shanahan. Like, Brock Purdy should be like fifth on the talking points. And that's how I feel with Derek Carr coming into the season. He will be the maestro or whatever, engineering and kind of managing the offense. But Alvin Kamara will be the focal point of the offense. He will be what makes this thing go. Chris Olave is a top 10 receiver in my mind. Rashid Shaheed is coming back into a big role. All these young players, like, we have to distribute the focus a little better. This hang up on Carr is clouding the judgment of how a lot of people are seeing this season. So, ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this video, about what I'm saying about Carr, about all of that. Thank you very much for watching. Much appreciated. I will see you in the next video.